What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilk, and of course we're coming back today to talk a little bit more about DanChro. Now, it's come to my attention, quite unceremoniously, that I have not properly talked yet about the battle items and equipment and how to handle this, so let's have a brief discussion about this. So, if you go into your upgrade here, and you go to the battle items screen, now, as of late, we've had a ton of battle items added to the game. Well, what does all that mean? As you can see, I'm kind of terrible about it here myself. What does all that mean, and how do you handle this situation? Well, number one, let's just grab one of the newer battle items, okay? I'm going to look specifically at this robe that was recently added with the abyssal floors, or the abyss level floors of Abyssal Exploration. So when it comes to the specific event, there is a specific item, there are certain attributes and skills and characteristics and things like that that you need to know first and foremost. So, it's called the Fairy Cloak. Your unit support technique says applies 200% increased technique gauge accumulation to your rate. Basically, what that means is that whenever you're wearing this in battle, whenever it is active, because you actually have to activate it, basically, for the next, notice it says there, accumulation rate increased for 10 seconds. For the next 10 seconds after you pop this, it is going to increase your technique gauge, i.e., how you get skill 1 and skill 2, and even your special move, for lack of better... there's one that does special move gauge specifically, but this will just do skill 1 and skill 2, which will naturally increase the other skills. But anyway, essentially, it just increases that twofold. You just accrue those twice as fast. Can be very, very useful. Now, it says here for 10 seconds. That means that for 10 seconds, it'll basically last. And it says there's no cooldown. Now, why there's no 10-second cooldown on it, I don't know. But basically, you can pop this in rapid succession in a quick fight to kind of get an early boost. Now, you do have some characteristics here. And mine's got some terrible characteristics. So, currently, mine says when in battle, 0.5% endurance increase. When you defeat an enemy, 5 reduced technique cooldown to your unit. And when you defeat an enemy, 35 reduced technique cooldown to your unit. So that basically means that every time I beat somebody, I'm getting a big buff to that. Now, these are all modifiable. See, this is a kind of a bronze, then I've got a gold down here. There's bronze, silver, gold, and then there's like the rainbow attributes. So to modify this, I'm going to go over here into Remake. And I actually don't have any more of those cloaks, but we'll talk about an item that we do have some dupes of here in a moment. Which I'm shocked I don't. For as much of the Abyssal runs as we did, I'm shocked we don't have more, but that's neither here nor there. If you click on characteristics over here, it'll give you all the characteristics you want. So, the main ones you really want to talk about are the rainbow items, and usually the things that are right up front. Now, starting from the bottom here, or so the second row here, when in battle, 10% dex increase to your unit. Whenever you see that kind of open hand, that's a dex increase. It's just like that. Just means you're going to get a dexterity boost. The shield is an endurance boost. The hat is a magic boost. And the closed fist is a strength boost. All those should be pretty well understood. And each attribute's going to have, or each level's going to have something a little bit different. So if we kind of go down here to the gold, you'll see it's a 7% boost, whereas the rainbow's a 10% boost, and some of them can even vary. The silvers go down here to like 6.8%, and then there's different levels that you can get in the silver. You really do kind of want to aim for the rainbow attributes. They are kind of the best of the best. And yes, you can double these up. Like I could get, if I really wanted a strength boost, I could triple up strength boosts. It's really hard to do, but it is possible, and we'll kind of cover that as well. Now, this one's got 2 interesting attributes here. So it says here, when you defeat an enemy, if I go way up to the top, that little clock-looking thing, when you defeat an enemy, 50 reduced technique cooldown to your unit, and then there's the one next to it that you usually see with most of the attributes, when in battle, 50% action skill damage to your unit. That just means that skill 1, skill 2 are going to do 15% more damage when they're produced. So, really, if I'm re-rolling this, I kind of want to see both of those. I want to see the clock, and I want to see that kind of sword-looking thing. Most are either going to have one or the other attribute, and we'll talk about this here in a moment. Now, I don't have any duplicates of this, but what I do have are those hammers. I have 204 of those hammers. Now, you can recraft up to 10 times per run, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the hammer, and I'm going to throw 10 hammers at the wall here and see what happens. Now, if I do have dupes of the cloak, it'll give me a 0 out of however many I have, and then kind of like it does with a hammer there, and then I can select a whole bunch of those. If I've got like, 30, 40 of those shirts, I can just hit auto select and it'll auto select 10 of them. But I'm going to do the hammers now, so I don't have any duplicates of that. We'll do a quick remake. And let's see what we get here. Okay, remake complete. So I do have a rainbow attribute on the hat, but I don't really want that. What I really want is the cooldown skill and the other sword skill. And I don't see any here, really. Let's kind of go out here. We're not going to change that. I'm going to keep the attributes I have because I've got, like I said, you can double these up. So I've got a gold and a bronze attribute on the timer. And by the way, let's go to don't change. If you don't want to change, just hit don't change and back out. Now, I did say there's a way to lock this down. You can click this little lock icon here, but you have to have the Goibnu lock to actually do this. And to make that happen is paywalled, but I'll show you basically how. So if I clicked this, and I did a bunch of these up here, and I hit remake, it's going to say that I need 5 of those locks in order to lock that attribute down. Now, obviously, I wouldn't want to lock down a bronze attribute. I'd save those for a rainbow attribute. But just to cover all of our bases, if you go over here to the shop, go to your packs, and go down a little bit, see, you can buy up to 20 of the locks here. It is with paid sealers. There is no free-to-play option there. It is paywalled, but it is something that I think you do need to know. So let's go back into battle items here and look for something that I'm definitely, like these I should definitely have some dupes of. I have 94 of those gloves. So my current attributes are, let's go into our characteristics here. I have a rainbow attribute, a gold attribute in the sword, and actually this one looks really good. So once again, I would have to read all this to know specifically what's going on here. But let's see, activates with 2 fire attribute, upgrade 1, when in battle, 10% critical rate increase. That's really good. Let's see, what do I actually have on it, though? Because there's specific things here. So that middle one is definitely very good, and the fact it's doubled up there. Activates when equipped with 2 fire attribute 1, when in battle, 4% critical rate increase. So basically, if I have a good fire team, it's going to give me a big crit boost. That's going to be really nice. Then this one down here activates when equipped with 2 fire attribute upgrade 1. When in battle, increases normal attack damage. So these are things you need to pay attention to. I'm actually not going to reroll this item because I want to really lock that down. So I'm just going to back out and move on with my my whole thing here. Now I do have an item over here that I know I've got a ton of. Bam. And that is these books. So if I go to remake, I've got 238 of those books. Oh, man, this one's got a rainbow attribute, too. We actually re-rolled this last night on stream. I don't really want to mess that one up either. Let's find something. I'm sure this is... I don't know how many... See, I don't have any dupes of that. Let's go back up here one more time. Let's see what we've got that it's got dupes. Here we go. Now, I haven't used the lovely fabric. I call it a yoga mat. It looks like a yoga mat to me. I haven't used this in quite a bit of time, but nevertheless, when in battle, 7% strength increase to your unit. When attacked, enemy 45. These are all the characteristics that are applied, and I'll kind of cover how that's done in a team build here in a moment. But first things first, let's kind of look at this. So when in battle, 7% increase to your unit. So I really do want to kind of increase this. So if I hit auto select, okay, it'll grab 10 of those suckers, and then I can hit remake, and let's see if we get something really good out of it. Okay, remake complete. And immediately I don't see any rainbow attributes, so I'm just going to back out. I don't really care too much about that. Let's do another set of 10 here. Can we get a rainbow attribute and a good one? So, man. Problem is, I don't have any of the special attributes. So I've got a magic buff here. 10% magic with a 1.5% chance to shield and 4.5% chance of shield. Big magic buff here. That's actually really good. And 10% chance of a 1.5% shield. So I'm actually going to go with this. I think this is a better option, but it would specify that this is going to have to be used on a magic unit. But that's fine. I think that's good enough attributes for now. If I go to the characteristics here, it'll say 10% chance of 1.5 shield for 5 seconds. I don't like that. Win a battle, 10% strength increase, 10% magic increase. That's actually what we wound up getting. 10% endurance increase would have been really good. Unfortunately, the two shields can have the same icon, so you do have to read at some point in time. Or 10% dex. So the 10% magic actually turned out to be really good for this particular item. All the items are going to be a little bit different. But let's go ahead and talk about a team build here and how this is actually going to kind of influence how this works in battle. Okay, so as I go into my team setup here, I've got a team that I've actually set up for the raid, and specifically a lot of these units actually have triple items, so this is going to be a really good example of how this works. So when it comes to Anya here, I don't have the triple items for her, so just the one item itself just kind of does what it does. So it says front-facing AoE attack, support technique, apply faint to enemy for 2 seconds, and apply 10% reduced endurance for 10 seconds. So that's actually to be really good for her, so we're going to back out. Now, when it comes to Ryu here, this is kind of like her specialty item. So, we do have base info here. So number one, it says it doesn't add any HP, doesn't add any strength, but it does add 40 magic, 250 vitality, which is really good, and 0 dex. So that's the initial thing there, the basic info. Then we get into the characteristics. Those are those things we were re-rolling before. So we get 4% magic increase to your unit, activated when adventurer possesses the Legacy of Justice Ryu. So in other words, Ryu specifically gets this, and I think it's just this one Ryu that actually gets it. 50% fire damage increase to unit for 10 seconds, and I actually have that again for 5% fire damage for 10 seconds. So whenever this is activated, we're going to get a 20% boost in fire damage, which is really nice. This is one of those that if I was going to reroll, I would use the locks, lock up that attribute, and then roll it again. So with these really good items, like I might choose to do that. If you're free to play, obviously reroll as much as you want. Just know you've got to make some choices at some point. Finally, we need to go over to the skill info. Now, here's the deal. There's something really important you need to know. Skill info, if you have 3 items on your team, skill info really only works for the first item. So check this out. All unit support technique, apply 10% shield to all units for 10 seconds and 10% fire damage to all units. So in this particular situation, every skill is going to be a little bit different, but and so you got to read them all. But specifically, and don't even pretend like you're going to memorize them all. I don't have them all memorized, and I've been playing this since day one. There's just too many items. But if we go back out here, every unit on this team is going to get a fire boost. Every unit on this team is going to get a shield. So that's what that special one does. Let's kind of look at what she's cooking up here. So if we go to her skill info, 15% action increased action skill damage to your unit, so it only applies to her. So she's going to get action skill damage for 15 seconds. Remember, that's skill 1, skill 2. 20% damage reduction for 15 seconds. Note that it doesn't say all units, that's just her. So in this particular situation, that only applies to her. Now, I did say these units each have 3 items. There's a special caveat to the second and third items. So let's go ahead and look at her Ushi here. So, right out of the gate, basic info. Strength and int plus 30, dex plus 112. Very good. And you'll see that actually applies to all of our stats, and that's just going to improve the stats of this unit. Go over to characteristics. Activated when adventurer possesses fire attributes, so it can be used on any fire unit. Win a battle, 10% crit rate. Awesome. I have another 4.5% crit rate. That's awesome. And I've got a 1% crit rate. How I pulled this one off, I have no idea. I didn't use locks on this. I just got lucky. So, that's great. I'm going to have what? A 15.5% crit rate. So, good crit rate on that. Awesome. And with all the other stats, it's going to be fantastic. Now, let's look at the third item. No. Go back there. Bam. So, 1600 HP, 100 vitality. Those are the only things that's there. Characteristics. When adventurer possesses fire attribute, 4.5% endurance. This would be a good one to reroll because I don't have the greatest stuff on there. When adventurer possesses fire attribute and damage, 7% action skill damage to your unit, and a 1% strength increase. So this would have been a great candidate to actually reroll. So I could do that. But here's the thing. When the third item is in play, you do not get these skills. So, basic info and characteristics are the only thing that matter when you're applying the second and third units. So, obviously, we would just go basic info and characteristics, and we wouldn't care anything about the rest of that. that's really just like the bare bones basic stuff. And also, I apologize that my screen's been flashing this whole time. Hopefully I didn't set off anybody's... I don't know why the game's doing that. Just PC app, everyone. It's glorious. So that is the bare bones basic stuff that you need to know. Anything else is just kind of like nitty gritty. So if you need anything else, let me know in the comments as well. Like, comment, share, and I'll be back with more soon.